Hey everybody, Attorney Tom here. Yesterday I made a short about a self-exploding bike, and I thought I would make a longer video explaining it after seeing some troubled comments my cat left. Okay, roll the clip.
Made a bicycle anti-theft device. It has a butt recognition system. When the thief sat on it,
Real quick, before we get into it, I just want to say thank you. We just passed 203,000 subscribers. As always, the goal of this channel is to make content worthy of your time. If you're interested in joining this community, I ask that you give consideration to subscribing to my channel. Now let's take a look at just a sample of the comments. I say it's legal, it's teaching people not to steal. This should be legal, not your stuff. Do not touch it, simple. In what way is this illegal though? I mean, it's your personal property, and if someone intended on stealing it, then wouldn't it be their fault for getting harmed? And those are all legitimate concerns, questions, and comments. But the law prioritizes human life over property. And the key with this case is that it only involved theft of a bike. And while I'm certainly not saying that stealing a bike is okay, the question that the law tries to answer, or the public policy behind the law tries to answer, is the appropriate response to stealing a $100, $200, $1,000, $2,000 bike. Is the appropriate response to that serious bodily injury or even death? And that answer is no. And there's a very famous case about this particular subject. And the famous case is called Catko versus Bryony. In that case, Mr. Catko, the plaintiff, was a trespasser on Mr. Bryony's property. Mr. Bryony owned an abandoned, uninhabited farmhouse. And Catko went into that farmhouse. Total trespass, 100%. Had no permission to be there. Was sneaking, snooping around, checking it out. But what Catko didn't know is that Bryony had rigged a spring-loaded shotgun in one of the bedrooms of the abandoned farmhouse. So when Catko opened the door, the shotgun fired at the doorway, and it seriously injured Catko. Now, Mr. Bryony was not on the property. He was nowhere near the property. His life was not at risk in any form or fashion. So, Mr. Catko sued and eventually won. And as you can imagine, Bryony's defense was, well, he was trespassing on my property. He would not have got shot had he not been doing something illegal. And the court disagreed with this concept. Essentially, what the court said is that as a matter of public policy, the value of human life far outweighs any potential threat to property or property damage. And what I mean by property, I mean solely property. In this particular instance, nobody was at harm of getting hurt. It's not like Bryony, the defendant, was inside the house. If somebody broke in the house, even if they had no intentions of harming or causing human life to be harmed, well, as a homeowner, you can make a good faith argument that you were objectively and subjectively in fear of grievous bodily harm and therefore you acted in self-defense. But that is not the case here because nobody was in the house. There's no threat to human life. It was solely about the property. Similar to here in the bike instance where the bike is just the bike. Nobody's on the bike. Nobody's physically robbing the bike. While somebody's on there, it is just theft. And another misconception that people get on both sides of this case is the use of force. The court didn't say that the use of force wasn't appropriate altogether, but they said the amount of force in this case was not appropriate. You can use reasonable force to defend yourself, to defend your property, but it's not reasonable to use deadly force to defend only property. So let's say that Mr. Bryony had rigged up a pepper spray apparatus or a rubber bullet that would give you a really hard sting on the arm or scare you or whatever. That might have been, probably would have been okay, but not deadly force. So yeah, I mean, I just thought this was an interesting concept. So let's say I'm a bike thief and I get on a bike and the bike blows up and it kills me. Well, that's probably unreasonable force, especially if there's safer alternatives to protecting your bike, such as a bike lock. And that's where I was coming from when I made this video. It's just clearly an unreasonable amount of force. And it is an interesting legal concept to grasp because it kind of is counterintuitive when you think about it. You would think that you should be able to protect your property no matter what. But that is not the case. And you can see why now after, hopefully, my explanation. And further, the whole point of having a legal system is to discourage the method of self-help. That's why we have remedies and criminal procedures to punish people who are bad actors, such as bike thieves. They want to encourage people to go and use the legal system rather than promoting self-help. Because if that was the case, it would be the Wild West. Everybody would be running around taking matters into their own hands, and you could see how things could get way out of hand. Okay, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you hit that like button and leave any comments, questions, concerns down below in the comments. I hope this was a fun video. I'll see y'all later.